Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, and just a celebration of all things Nintendo. How is your Nintendo doing, Shawn?
It's me. I feel like we haven't podcasted in 100 years.
Yeah, it's been quite the break for us because if you don't know, Shawn and I have another podcast, the Ninja Turtle Nerds, which if you like Ninja Turtles, go check that out. But we recorded the whole season ahead of time, so it's been a while since we've actually sat down and podcasted together. Finally got all our schedules organized, and looks like we finally get to start Nintendo Therapy after thinking about it like 2 months ago.
So you get to put up with us twice a week, which is cool. But no, and then
did you have any Nintendo Therapy lately? Any
I
Nintendo
did.
Therapy moments?
So while I was, invalid with the COVID for the second time, I love the Switch. Like, I had like 4 days of playing games like when I was a kid because I wasn't like, oh, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Oh, I gotta worry about this. So I just got to play stuff. And
it really makes you want to rethink all of society, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Do we need jobs?
So I had texted you, but one of the things I did, which just made me feel like a kid, was I was playing Cowabunga Collection, and I was just like, I'm curious how much it would cost me per continue if we're doing quarters for each turtle in the arcade game. So I tallied it up. I'm going to probably do it for Turtles in Time. So it took me $8 with Leo, $6.75 with Mikey.
Okay. Wait, $75?
$6.75 with Mikey.
Okay.
So he was better than Leo. $5 with Donnie because he's got the reach.
Yep.
And $5.25 with Raph. So that was part of my like Nintendo therapy, was just like, I really want to know now. And I learned two things. So I did them in Leo to Raph order. I'm going to do reverse on Turtles in Time just to make sure it wasn't that I was sort of getting better at the arcade game because I just was playing one after the other. But I didn't realize you could get stun locked in it, so that really threw me off a lot.
What do you mean stun?
Like someone will hit you and then like you can't do anything and you get hit like 3-4 more times.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I could be wrong. Listeners, because I know you've played the arcade game way more than me, there doesn't seem to be a pattern to the bosses.
I'm not good at beat 'em ups, so if there was a pattern, I wouldn't have found it.
Okay. Because there's a couple of bosses I found, like you can hit them twice, run away, and then like Krang and Shredder, you have to like, and the two rock soldiers actually, you have to hit them and then go like above the top of the screen, go down below them, hit them again, wait, and it's a kind of annoying, but
rock soldiers in that are just quarter eaters. They're I feel like they have like so much health.
And I didn't know that the clone Shredder eventually doesn't respawn, because I found that out like my last run. Yeah,
it's like towards the end, right? Like right before you finish him.
Well, because usually I just find which one's the right Shredder and get him. But this time I kept getting the clone, and eventually the clone didn't respawn.
I'm bad at beat 'em ups. It always takes me until he's not respawning anymore to finish him. I didn't know you could do it before that.
Yeah, so that was my Nintendo therapy, and then I'm sure it was on there at release, but the Game Boy games in Cowabunga Collection have Game Boy Color versions, which is really cool. So
sweet. No, I think that might have been an update.
Yeah?
I think I remember hearing about that. They had some update recently.
Because it's kind of like playing the Mirage comic now.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look obviously as good, but like the turtles are still kind of the black and white, greenish, whatever, and then they just did color like in the background and stuff. I completely forgot that was a thing when old Game Boy games kind of would upscale to Game Boy Color.
Yeah, and I never knew how that technology worked. Like, did they specifically program the system to know that these games should have this color palette? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because so many of them work so perfectly.
So I thought that was really cool, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, how on earth did this know? Oh, this is OG Game Boy game, so it's not going to have a huge color palette, but here's what we did with it. So, yeah, that was my Nintendo therapy. So it was kudos to the Switch for making me play games like a kid again. It was awesome.
My Nintendo therapy moment was there was a few days actually, where I just like my work is still piling on right now for reasons I won't get into because this isn't a Kevin's job podcast. But I had I'm just exhausted, and I had a Nintendo therapy moment where I put on Pilot Wings on the Switch Online service, which I know you've always said that you don't know how that game is relaxing for me. But
hey,
I think I figured it out.
Each his own.
First off, the music.
Okay.
It's like a relaxation tape. Like Pilot Wings has such soothing music. And also the things that the game asks you to do, you can redo them really quick. You know what I mean? Like if you fail at landing the plane, you can very quickly just redo that objective. So it's not like a game where there's not a lot at stake while you're playing. You're like, I'll see if I can do it this time, and if I can't, I'll try again. So
in that sense, then yeah, I get it.
And also I realized okay, I crashed the plane, but then you still have to do the other modes. But I don't know. I don't really ever play Pilot Wings to get to the next chapter. I think they're separated into chapters. I don't know what they call it, but the different sections of the game. I play it just to be playing those vehicles. And I'm like, okay, I crashed the plane. Let me see how I do with the hang glider now. Okay, I nailed the hang glider. Now I got to redo the whole thing over again, though, because I crashed the plane. Let's see if I can land the plane this time. Oh, I did it. Cool. Okay, I don't know. It just... I'm not in a rush to get to the end of the game. I think it's the thing. So yeah, even when I crash, I'm never that frustrated because there's a password system. So what have you been playing lately other than that? Is that you're now playing?
So my now playing, I finally jumped back into Monster Hunter Rise. Because for Christmas, my brother-in-law got me the last amiibo I didn't have for it, and it's the only game I use amiibos for, because it gives you...
How many Monster Hunter games are there?
I don't know. I've only played 3 of them. But I know...
What do you do? I've never played one.
It's basically that. The quest is hunt this monster, and you craft stuff, and it's just rinse, repeat.
Okay.
And...
I wonder if it's like Final Fantasy 12 had bounties where you would go to the pub and there would be a bounty hunting thing and you'd go and hunt that monster.
Oh, that's cool.
No?
I don't know. I haven't got around to Final Fantasy 12, but so I finally have gotten back into that. I've had that game since launch. I know it's coming to everything else now, but originally it was a Switch PC only, and for me... When it released, if I didn't have a Switch, that was a system seller for me because I just like the gameplay loop. That's all it is. I just like that. But outside of that, I'm determined to play the 3 Xenoblade Chronicles this year.
That's a good goal. They're always on my list of things to get to. That's another franchise that's a blind spot for me. But I think eventually I am going to get to them because I want to start with... I have this list that you know about where it's a list of games that I've owned forever and never finished. And on that list is Xenogears, PlayStation, the original PlayStation game, and Xenosaga, which I know they don't connect to Xenoblade, but I want to play them first anyway. Because, they're spiritual sequels or whatever.
I think it's just spiritual. I don't think it's the same universe. Okay.
No, it's definitely not. But I like seeing the evolution of things, even if it's not the same franchise. So I think I want to start there. And I played Xenogears a lot as a kid. It's just a game I never finished. And now, for whatever reason, as an adult, it's easier to finish games. So I think I'm going to get to that eventually. Maybe because we live in the information age and I can always just look up online if I get stuck.
It could be part of it. It's funny that with the Xenoblades, I've only owned them for a year for 2 of them, and then I don't know when the third one had come out, but I bought the third one at release because the second one took me forever to find, because you'll be proud of me, I'm on digital only now. But this was one of my last cartridge buys, and I actually found it used because Xenoblade, I don't know why, certain games on Switch specifically are really hard to find after release.
I think some of them have limited print runs, which will come into play into something we're going to talk about later in the podcast. But the games I'm playing now are Skyward Sword HD, because it's on my list of that bucket list I talked about, that list of games I have. Also on that list, so there's games I've owned forever and never finished. And also just basically games I purchased and haven't finished yet. It's all on the same list. I want to eventually get to a point where I don't buy a new game until I finished the game I just bought. I want to cancel. I've been working this is the 3rd year in a row I've been working on that goal because the backlog is so big. I think this might be the year I catch up, though. I only have like 4 or 5 games that I've bought, aside from the stuff that's been around forever. I only have like 4 or 5 games on my Switch that I bought them and never finished them. And I think this might be the year I get them all done.
So my limit this year I gave myself is I can get 2 Switch games and I can get 1 Xbox game, but the Xbox games are 70. So that's going to be what do I really, really want to play? So it's probably going to be Tears of the Kingdom, and then I don't know what else on Switch. But
see, that's the exception to the rule so eventually I'm going to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm only going to buy a game when I finish a game, unless it's a Zelda game or like a big release Nintendo title or something that like I can't wait. Like I don't think it'll be a problem if I have 2, but the problem is when you have like, because I tend to play like 3 games at a time. Like right now I'm playing Skyward Sword HD, like I said, because I bought that and I have to finish it. I never finished it. Which I think is the definitive version of that game. I think that's pretty, like, you can't even argue that at this point. It looks so much better than the Wii version, and the motion controls, while they still have problems, are way, way improved from the Wii version. So.
Oh, all right, cool. Because I know you said that was like the big thing with the Wii one was
there are points where the motion controls just like, you need to be like doing like such a deliberate swing. Otherwise, like Link just kind of like moves his arm in the direction, but he doesn't swing the sword. And you're like, swing this. You're like screaming, swing the sword. Like you're getting attacked. Anyway, the other games I'm playing, Pokemon Violet, obviously still. I want to get that full Pokedex. And not really a whole lot to talk about this week with that. They patched it a few times since launch, once, maybe twice. Still kind of runs goofy, but I still love it. And the other game I'm playing right now is I have the Grandia HD collection, which I...
Oh, you started that?
Yeah. I've had that for a while and haven't finished it, and I'm definitely going to finish that now. I love the first Grandia game. This is my first time playing it, and so far, I just love it. Like, it's so bright and colorful, which is something you never hear game reviews talk about. You know, like, I don't ever hear that as a plus for a game, but it's a plus for me. And I think that's why I'm such a Nintendo fan, is because I always prefer art that gears a little more towards cartoonish than realistic graphics. Graphics that are trying to look like the real world, a lot of times, if there's not enough color, it kind of camouflages together to me. Like, the example I always think of is Batman Arkham City. A lot of times, like, I played most of that game with the detective mode on, because like the enemies would blend into the background for me.
Yeah, I could see that being an issue. I mean, yeah, Arkham Origins actually, that visually was kind of rough. So yeah,
But Grandia is great. It's a JRPG. It's super colorful. It was originally a Sega Saturn game, if you don't know, and then it got released on the PlayStation, and now there's an HD collection with the Grandia and Grandia 2. There's 4 games in the franchise total. There's Grandia, Grandia 2. I've played them both, never finished either one, but now I will. And then outside of the HD collection, there's a Grandia 3 that I don't know much about, and a game called Grandia Extreme. I think both were on the PlayStation 2. But it's a JRPG. It's not random encounters. You can see the enemies on the screen like Chrono Trigger or like Super Mario RPG. So you don't have to worry about random battles. I'm always curious how franchises like this like die. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those franchises where it's like Final Fantasy, where the sequels aren't in any way connected. So, like, someone out there owns the rights to the name Grandia. You could just make any game and call it Grandia 4 because the titles don't line up. So, I don't understand, like, why just out of name recognition, if you have, like, a generic RPG that you developed, just call it Grandia 4 and you'll sell more. You know what I mean? Grandia 4 and you'll sell more. That's the motto.
Yeah, because it's always on best RPG lists. So there's definitely a fan base out there.
Chrono Trigger's another one that, like, how did that brand die off? You had Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, other way around, and then that brand just died. But they don't really have anything to do with each other. Like, where's like Chrono Bullet or whatever? Like, just like keep making Chrono games. It doesn't matter. They don't have to link up. And so that's what I'm playing now. I'm excited for. I'm taking a vacation next month, and every time I go on vacation, I buy a new game for that, which is probably part of the problem. But the game I'm going to buy for vacation, I'm going to finally get 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
Oh, nice.
And dive into that. That's going to be my vacation game.
3D World,
Which it's fun to do if no one's ever done that, because like I have all these game associations with different vacations. Like when the Mario 3D, what is it called? Super Mario, the 3D collection. What is it called?
3D All-Stars, I think.
3D All-Stars. Yeah, when that came out, I got that right before my trip to Jamaica, and now I super associate Mario Sunshine with Jamaica because it's a tropical game, and I was in a tropical environment.
Yeah, man.
I associate the banjo, not Banjo Kazooie. What is it? The guy who kind of looks like Banjo, but he's a PlayStation character. Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot trilogy. I associate that with my trip to Brazil. Anyway, point is, it's fun to get games for vacations.
Yeah, let me know how 3D World is on Switch. I played it on Wii U, and I was like,
are they the same level? Well,
yeah, it's the same
the Wii
game.
U one, it's just the same, but is it the same as the 3DS version?
No, the 3DS one's a different game.
Okay, because that's the one that I've played. I finished that.
No, so that was 3D Land, I want to say.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think they're considered the same series. But yeah, 3D World I played on Wii U, I enjoyed. But Bowser's Fury wasn't enough for me to be like, I'm going to buy that again. And I'm like, I don't know if I would play through it again.
Me, so I'm not rebuying it. So, all right, let's get into what's going on in Nintendo news. So, none of this is really new news. It all happened while we were kind of developing this podcast, and it's just stuff I wanted to talk about on the podcast, and we didn't have a show yet. So, some of the stuff you probably already know about out there in listener land, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So, first news item. The Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster is coming to the Switch.
See, that might be my other I buy it, my 2 this year. Even though I
definitely
don't know anything about 3 and 5.
5 is probably, and this might be blasphemous to some of our listeners, my favorite of that collection. I I like it more than 6, I'm sorry. And I like it more than 4. I know that's another fan favorite. I'm sorry. I love Final Fantasy V. The job system is amazing. And it's one of those things where I say, why don't these companies reuse their ideas? Like, it's almost like they they develop a whole game around a concept and it's awesome, and then they never use it again. Like, there's a job system in like 12, but it's not nearly it's never the same as it is in 5. And it was really good. I loved 5. Probably my favorite of the 6. Now, most people are going to tell you 6 is the best because the story is amazing. I don't know. The story never really connected much with me. It's a good story. I'm not hating on it, but I like it. It wasn't enough to make me like it more than the gameplay of 5, which I loved. What else was I going to say? I lost my train of thought there. It's going to be a good. It's definitely worth it. People are already complaining online about the price. It's $74.99 for the collection. But it's 6 games, you know? And they also said that they're going to offer to sell them individually, $15.99 per game. So if you're complaining and all you want is Final Fantasy VI, just buy 6.
I mean, to me, that's worth it because with what's already on the Switch, that's a pretty decent library of Final Fantasies, especially now that they've confirmed.
You know it. You know I've been saying it since the beginning. It's perfect. I can finally have on one system Final Fantasy 1 through 12, obviously excluding 11 because it was the MMORPG. Those MMORPGs should not have been numbered. They should have been a different part of the Final Fantasy franchise. 11 and 14 should get new games. They should release a Final Fantasy 11 that isn't an MMO so that the numbering is more organized.
But I think it's cool you can play so many of them on the system now because I know they just
1 through 12. Technically you can play 15 too because they had that Switch version of 15 that's not the same game,
which by most accounts is the better way to play it apparently. But
yeah, I've heard that too.
Because I know they just confirmed 16's only going to be PS5, which, I mean, it doesn't matter, but...
Well, yeah, I've got a PS5. I'll play it.
But yeah, it's nice to know that classic era basically is all available. Yeah. So that's really cool.
Exactly, yeah. And to me, to tell you the truth, the classic era is just 1 through 10, but it's nice to have 10, 2, and 12 on there.
I'd give it to 12. I think I
organized my games by playtime the other day, and the Final Fantasy 10, 10-2 collection is my second most played game after Stardew Valley. Because, I mean, Final Fantasy 10, to complete that, if you want to 100% that's like 100 plus, that might be 120 hours. And then add on to that because the system is only looking at that as one game. You know what I mean? So then you add the full playthrough of 10-2 on there. I'll bet if I checked, that game is over 200 hours. I know my Stardew Valley is over 200 hours.
And that's the thing with this collection too, is just, to sound like an old man, it's a good deal in terms of amount of content.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 6 games, each with their own story. Each game is minimum of like 20 hours. I mean, not each. It's the first one you could probably do in like 15, so 12 to 15 hours. I don't know. Point is, if you add it all up, it's easily like 120 hours worth of content or more.
So to me, that's worth it just for that.
And that's not even 100%ing them. There's going to be a collector's edition that includes a bonus lenticular sleeve for the game package. I don't know what that is yet. I didn't look at it.
Guessing that's sold out already, so you'll be getting that from your local.
Well, let me get through what it is, and I'll talk about that. That was what I hinted at earlier. So there's it also comes with a 2-disc vinyl record set featuring newly arranged game music with exclusive cover artwork drawn by, I'm not going to be able to say this name, Kazuko Shibuya. I never get really into the names behind the stuff I love, unfortunately. And it's going to have a specially compiled art book showcasing beautiful character pixel art and 8 stylized pixel art character figures in window packaging. A lot of these games come with art books now. I gotta say, I looked through them once. Even the digital version will come with the art book. It'll download. I gotta say, even if it's a game I love, the most I'll do is I'll flip through it once. I won't read a single word. I'll just flip through it, and I'm like, okay, that was cool. So I'm not going to get the collector's edition because none of that interests me. And also, like you hinted at,
you can't.
You're not going to be able to get it. Yeah, scalpers are already selling them for like $800. And that's what I was talking about before, is even I think the normal edition, the non-collector's edition, they're scalping already. And I think it's going to be one of those games that you said Xenoblade was, where it's going to be hard to find because they're doing a limited print run of this. They're only making so many physical copies for this, which doesn't bother me because I do everything digitally. And honestly, even if you don't normally do digital games, I feel like this is the perfect thing to do it for, because first off, you get to have all those 6 games on your Switch all the time, no matter where you are. You don't have to switch any tabs or anything. They're right there. And also, it's not like this is the only system to play those games on. So you don't have to have that argument that people normally have with digital, where they're like, oh, well, what are you going to do when Nintendo shuts down their store for the Switch and now you need to get them on a new system, or whatever that argument is. I never really understood it because, it's on my card. I'm never going to lose these games unless, I guess, the card could fry 10 years from now after they shut the Switch shop down. I don't know. But yeah, that's my point, is get these digitally because first off, you don't want to support scalpers. Second off, you want them on your Switch. Third off, if you can't get them on your Switch in the future, it doesn't matter because they're on everything else.
Yeah.
They're on Steam. So you can always play these games somewhere else, probably on PlayStation as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the next Nintendo system has them. I think the next Nintendo system is going to carry over its digital store for the first time. Hopefully. We'll see.
That would be good.
Next news item, unless you had anything else to say about that.
Nope.
Is the Mario movie toys leaked, or some of them did. So it's kind of hard to talk about toys on a podcast, but a lot of pictures of various different Mario characters came out. They're individually packaged, and they have figures for characters like Mario, Princess Peach, Toad. They come with a little question mark block that folds out to show like a tiny still from the movie, which is pretty cool. Bowser gets his own toy, of course. And they also have these play sets that leaked as well. So those are the coolest thing. You have like, I mean, I wish I had the room around my house for things like this. They've got, little Mario, like it's like a little Mario level that you have a play set for now.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that it's just like, wow, we didn't have that, but I don't need it.
Yep. You get Peach's Castle, I think is one of them. And the Mario Training Grounds, which I guess is what we saw in the trailer where he was getting all beated up.
Yeah, I enjoyed that second trailer, so I don't know. I don't have any like worries about that movie.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I'll be there day one. I don't think there's any way that movie is going to be bad. It might be. I feel like the worst that movie is going to be is a C+. There's no way I'm going to walk out of that and be like, I regret spending those 2 hours there.
I mean, I'd be a little bummed if there wasn't a little nod to the 90s movie, but outside of that,
there's got to be something. Oh, well, they drive a van.
That's true.
We saw that.
True.
I don't know if that counts. I'm sure they're not drunk like the actors were in the 90s movie.
Uh,
And then another news item I had here is, this is breaking news. I saw this just yesterday at the time of recording. WATA, who is one of the biggest companies in grading video games for collectors,
yep.
which is a thing people do now. If you didn't know, they get graded video games. Now I understand. All my life I heard people complain. Like, you'd always see those older people in comic book stores who thought it was stupid that people got comic books graded. And I never understood it because I was like, well, it kind of makes sense. Like, now you know the exact condition this comic book's in, blah, blah, blah. That's how I'm starting to feel now with video game grading. Like, I'm like, this is stupid. We don't need this, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, they grade video games. The company, and this isn't the first time this has happened, was caught, basically, they graded a reproduction copy of Castlevania Rondo of Blood as an authentic game.
Oh, good for them.
So it kind of shoots their credibility down. You know, it was a reproduction and they graded it as basically like the real thing. And there was an auction on eBay for it, and the eBay community noticed it was a reproduction. So yeah, it's this is why I don't have any faith in graded games. One of the reasons. Another part of the reason is these grading companies, most of them have been caught in the past artificially inflating the prices of things by basically they'll find a really nice copy of something, they'll grade it a 9 out of 10 or whatever, and then they'll sell it to themselves at an auction. I don't know if they've been caught doing this with video games, but I remember one of them a while back was caught doing this with, I think it was baseball cards. They sell it to themselves for like $5,000, and then they let all the nerd news websites like post articles about, oh, this game just sold for $5,000, and like now everyone who has a copy of that game thinks it's worth $5,000, and it's not. It didn't even really sell for that. So you're not going to find a buyer, you know? So it's a scam. It's at the end of it. And there are positives to it, but can you imagine if, what's the company that does comic books? Man, I'm blanking tonight. CGC.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if CGC graded an Amazing Fantasy first appearance of Spider-Man, and then it came out that was like a reprint they did? Like, that would be crazy. You know, as far as I know, I've never heard of them doing that. Of course, usually it's got like True Believer written across the cover or something if it's a reprint, but still.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of glad I'm not into collecting.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I was back when you could afford it. Like, I started collecting those older cartridge games back when I could buy like the most like a top tier Super Nintendo game was like $60. And I was like, well, because I can remember thinking, well, that's what I would have paid if it was new, so I don't mind paying it now just because I really want that game. Like, I think I paid $60 for my Final Fantasy III, and it was like in box with the manual and everything. Like, now, that's probably like $300.
Yeah, somewhere around that, if not more.
Yeah, so like the prices have just gone insane, and it's for no real reason, because you know you can play these games and not pay crazy prices. I mean, look, you could pay $300 for a copy of Final Fantasy VI, like we just said, or you can buy the collection, the Pixel Remaster, play the same game, get 5 other games for $70. Or you could play a ROM for free. Not that we're condoning such a thing. I don't know. I don't think I don't think I'll ever come around to that. That's something where I'll be like, okay, cool. I'm in a lot of groups where I see people post all the time like, oh, I just nabbed this PlayStation game for $200. And it's almost always like some RPG I've never even heard of. And I'm like, 200, well, that's why it's $200 because I've never heard of it. So it's probably a game nobody was playing back then. And it's super rare now.
And they're probably not going to play it. So that drives me crazy.
Exactly, yeah. So let's move on to rumors. We got some rumors here. One rumor, I figured this was our first episode. We should tackle the biggie, the one that every Nintendo YouTube channel, every Nintendo podcast wants to talk about. And it's basically, it's kind of two rumors that are rolled together here. Let me read it the way I wrote it in my notes. So the two rumors that are kind of tied together, Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will be one of the last big Nintendo titles for the Switch. And a Switch Pro will be announced somewhere around the time of Tears of the Kingdom. Somewhere around that release. So let's break those rumors down. First one, I feel like Tears of the Kingdom will be one of the last Nintendo games for the titles for the Switch. It's too vague, and I've seen it reported exactly that way a few places, and it's like, well, one of the last?
I don't think it's gonna be,
like,
honestly.
I don't either.
I think it might be...
And it's like covering their bases with the way they word it, too.
Last big...
It's like when they say a new 3D Mario game is in development. It's like, of course there is. There's always a new 3D Mario game.
I think it might be the last big Zelda launch on the system. But I don't think it's going to be like the last...
Sure.
Oh, they're going to not... Because you still have a lot of things. Like, I don't see them not releasing Metroid Prime 4. They still got some big stuff.
It's just weird that we live in an age now where stuff like that could creep up on you, because I was looking into it, and remember when we were growing up, we got news about the Ultra 64, which became the Nintendo 64, for like a solid, I think, over a year before that system was released. Different articles in magazines and stuff. And now fast forward to the new age, the Nintendo Switch was like announced something like 3 or 4 months before it launched. Like months. So like that's why people are like thinking it could be any second now, among other things. The Switch is getting older. Third-party support is starting to say, hey, we can't develop for you anymore because if we release our game on your system, we can't release it on the other two systems because the other two are way more powerful, or vice versa as well. Like, hey, if we make a game for PlayStation 5, we can't also put it on the Switch because you guys are too far apart. So there's a lot involved there. I honestly don't think we'll be seeing a new Nintendo system. Definitely not this year.
2 years, maybe, even for the announcement. Honestly,
I would say next year, and like halfway into I would say an announcement halfway into next year, and then what are we in 2023? So an announcement's like halfway into 2024, released first quarter 2025. First episode of Nintendo Therapy, mark that prediction down. 2025. Next Nintendo system releases. Because, I mean, the developers can say whatever they want. Switch sales are still strong.
Yeah, they're
really strong.
Surpassed Game Boy's lifetime.
And, it's one of those things where that matters. And people say, well, one of the reasons the Wii U failed was because Nintendo waited too long. They were saying the same thing. Oh, Wii sales are strong. The Nintendo Wii is selling really strong. We don't need to start a new system. And then it kind of caught up to them too quick. And everyone's like, oh, they must have learned from that mistake. But maybe they didn't. We don't know what they learned. Maybe they are doing the same thing where they're like, you know what? The Wii U failed, but the the Wii still sold a ton, so we don't really care that the Wii U failed. And it could be the same thing with the Switch. Well, the Switch is still selling strong, so if the next system fails, we still have the money from the Switch.
I think they at least have the next console in development.
Yeah, they put out that weird image, remember, where it said like future, or that had like a timeline and it said like future. And the main takeaway from it was that it seemed like they were going to carry their eShop over, because it said like Nintendo Switch Online, that like bar went into the future, basically where their next system would be. So it looks like Switch Online and hopefully their eShop is going into the next gen. But yeah, they're definitely thinking about it when they're putting out stuff like that. And they say, but like, look at how Nintendo releases systems too. It might not even be like a Switch 2 like everybody wants, because everything they always say is we're looking for new ways to play games.
Yeah.
So the Nintendo Wii was definitely new, all the motion control stuff. Then they did the Wii U with the touchpad and everything. That was new. Then they did the Switch, where it's a home console and a portable. That's new. So it might not have anything to do with the Switch, and it might be its own, like some people are saying VR, which I don't see them doing a system that's exclusively VR.
I don't see them going all in on that, but
no. But you never know with Nintendo. They could call it the Virtual Boy 2 and troll everybody. Virtual Boy Color.
Oh, man.
That's what it's going to be. That would be so sweet if they put out Virtual Boy Color. But yeah, who knows what their next system's going to be, but I don't have any faith in either of these rumors. In fact, next episode, we're going to talk about Nintendo put out their timeline for 2023. And I think they have a few Nintendo-related games already announced for after Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm sure they do.
I don't know what they are, but that goes along with, Tears of the Kingdom is going to be one of the last Nintendo releases. It never feels like they plan their last release, to be honest.
No.
It feels like stuff just ends up being the last Nintendo. Like Wario's Woods is the first one that comes to mind on the original Nintendo. Doesn't feel like they were like, all right, we're going to go out with a bang here with Wario's Woods, guys.
Yeah, puzzle games. That's
have you ever played Wario's Woods? It's on the eShop
I think I have.
Switch Online.
It's a puzzle game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've played it.
It's weird. You like collect coins and stuff by doing things, and it's got Toad from the Mario games because they hadn't completely separated Wario from Mario yet.
Yep. Where's the new Wario game? Not WarioWare.
There should be a Bowser game. I texted you that one day. Why isn't there a game where you play as Bowser?
That would be fun.
The most fun part of Mario Odyssey is at the end when you control Bowser and you just smash everything.
I'd be down for a Bowser game.
Yeah, absolutely. You remember that game on Nintendo 64, Blast Corp, where you just destroyed stuff?
Yeah, it'd be like
that.
That'd be cool, actually. Like, you have to do like the boss fight at the end of a castle. Like, it's you versus Mario, and yeah, I like this idea.
And then the last rumor I had that people keep talking about is that GameCube is coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2023. A few things point to this. There was a recent controller that, and it's not even a Nintendo-made controller. It's a third party, so that's why it's like, why are you even linking these two things? But there's a new third-party controller that's basically a GameCube controller that you can click into
it's GameCube Joy-Cons, basically. Yeah. I saw
Joy-Cons,
that.
Yeah. And a few other things, like, they've been talking about Metroid Prime 4 and things like that. Here's the thing. If GameCube does come to Switch this year. It's not going to be in Switch Online. Look how much Nintendo 64 raised the price. Can you imagine what it would cost for a year of Switch Online with GameCube games?
They might just...
So it's not going there.
It'll probably be like the Virtual Console.
Yeah, they'll be like Metroid Prime might have a collection come out. Those Zelda games they keep mentioning might come out because they're like one of the last successful Wii U games to not be on the Switch yet is the HD Zelda games. And those were originally GameCube games.
I probably would fall for Wind Waker again because that grew on me.
There's especially if they redid that online feature where you could throw the messages in the bottle.
Yeah.
Out to people. That was really
But
cool.
Twilight Princess, I've honestly never had a desire to replay other than when I played it when it came out.
There's a strong rumor that there's going to be an F-Zero game this year. What was the F-Zero GameCube game? They're saying like, okay, if there's going to be an F-Zero game, it might be the GameCube one, like remastered or something. I could see it, but I mean, it's not like we're going to be drowning in GameCube games. You know, like it's not like their new what is that called? Their roster is going to be all GameCube this year. I don't see that happening.
No. I mean, I could see them utilizing it where maybe they bring over some Japan-only releases. Because I'm sure there's some GameCube stuff, and I know that tends to be one of the things they really try and focus on when they do online. Is, hey, this was never released over here, so haha.
I would really love two collections that would both involve GameCube games, where I would love a Paper Mario trilogy with the first three.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I would love a Luigi's Mansion trilogy packaged together. I don't know. They'd have to do something with Dark Moon because that was 3DS, but I'm sure it's possible.
Either way.
And it was called Luigi's Mansion 2 everywhere else. I don't know why we couldn't get it as Luigi's Mansion 2, but whatever.
If they do add GameCube, either way, people are going to be up in arms about the pricing. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the next step is, you know, I don't envy Nintendo right now because think of how many things the internet is complaining about on top of like pricing. You know, you've got people complaining that, oh, where's Metroid? Oh, where's GoldenEye? You know, where's my Switch Pro? Where's all the things fans want from Nintendo right now. It's crazy. GameCube games and more Nintendo 64 games.
Yet I feel like there's these two.
When are you announcing your next system?
There's
like, it's like every time Nintendo tries to open their mouth like you just did,
yeah.
someone online is shouting, where's this thing from the past?
Do a backflip.
And the poor company's just trying to move forward.
I have to say that the Switch era especially, the Pokemon and Fire Emblem fans have to be just so happy. Because they've gotten so much.
Yeah, that comes out next week.
Yeah,
right?
they've gotten so many releases, and it's just like, well, that's kind of nice, at least to be like, hey, you're big into Fire Emblem? Get a Switch, because we get some Fire Emblem for you. And then Pokemon, I think with the latest one,
I've seen a theory online, which I totally believe. The reason the last 2 years have been so Pokemon heavy is I think Game Freak's about to they're about to pull a Legend of Zelda and have the longest break they've had between games. Obviously, these rumors stem from what was going on with Pokemon Violet.
Yeah.
And how that, you know, clearly they need a little bit more time in development. So I would believe it. I would believe if because typically they release every 3 years a new mainline Pokemon game. And if they wanted to take 5 and figure this out,
yeah,
I'd be okay with it, because if you're someone like us I'm just getting back into the series, you just started the series for the first time, There are plenty of old Pokemon games to play to keep you busy for the next 5 years.
Even Fire Emblem, like, I think it's great that series has kind of had a renaissance of popularity. I've never played them, but
yeah,
I've always
but you know what?
Associated
Fire Emblem doesn't have the problem of that Pokemon has. Is Pokemon, the problem with it is the game doesn't drive the franchise. The franchise is driven by the card game and by the TV show.
Yeah.
So that's what's keeping people going. So that's why Game Freak needs to put out a new game like every 3 years, because they need new cards and they need new episodes of the TV show. So that kind of screws them there. Fire Emblem doesn't have that problem.
So yeah, I've never gotten into Fire Emblem, but I think about that, like, that'd be really cool if I was into it. Like, it's getting a lot of love. So
yep. Getting more love than my Legend of Zelda, which has had the longest holdover ever. That game was supposed to be out already, Shawn. I should be in the Tears of the Kingdom.
Breath of the Wild's probably still in the top 50 games sold every year since launch.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it's not going to... And I'm already well aware that Tears of the Kingdom is not going to be as impactful as Breath of the Wild was. Because it's a direct sequel. You know, it's like part of what was amazing about Breath of the Wild was how unexpected most of it was.
Mm.
So you're going in knowing half of the stuff you were amazed about. That's my 2 cents there. And I think that's all the Nintendo we have for the first episode of Nintendo Therapy. Do you have anything else?
No, I mean, that's good stuff. It's good to be back recording, and yeah, if I had to give a prediction, I'll say there'll be a Xenoblade 4 before the end of the Switch, because they seem to be doing a lot with that series.
That'll be fun. It's our first episode. Let's make some crazy predictions. I don't have any off the top of my head, though.
So I got that.
My crazy prediction would be the Zelda HD games coming out. Wind Waker and not Skyward Sword.
Twilight Princess.
Yeah, you're watching me struggle. My brain, it's melting.
You're a wolf.
With the Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess HD and them coming out this year. That's going to be my crazy
Here's
prediction.
my crazy prediction that it pains me, but I predict there will not be a new Donkey Kong Country on Switch. You will not see a new one until the next console.
I predict that I didn't prepare any crazy predictions. I should have. That, because it's got to be something I kind of believe could happen. Otherwise, this isn't fun. Let's see. Crazy prediction. If this happens, I could say I called it. You know what? I'll go with Mario Kart 9 announcement. There's my crazy prediction.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see another Mario Kart this system.
Nope.
But
that's why it would be crazy.
And one more.
They don't. Have they ever done more than one Mario Kart on a system?
On a console?
I mean,
no.
The handhelds might.
The handhelds have.
Like DS might have done a few.
Here's my last crazy prediction before we end our first episode. The people that did Metroid Dread will do a Super Metroid remaster.
Ooh. Mega Man Legends 3.
You know?
Switch exclusive.
And that's the crazy thing is I know Capcom is one of the few companies that they really get along with, and I could see that happening.
All right, what's one that's not going to happen? I'm going to say definitely not going to hear new system news. That's the only one I'm pretty sure. We'll find out as the months and years go on, because we know this podcast, while we're only recording the first episode now, is going to last for the next 45 years. We've made the commitment. We've signed the contracts. And This is going to be a 45-year analysis of Nintendo.
45 years from now, where's your next system?
Look, I don't know. I'm 80 years old. How old am I? 85? I'm 83. I'm 83 years old. I don't know. All right. Well, we don't really have a way to end these quite yet. So thank you all for listening. And we're brand new, so we ain't got no listeners as far as we know. So share us around as much as you can. Tell all your people, hey, you like the video games. These people talk about them. Next episode, I don't know if we'll always have our next episode planned because we kind of want to gear mostly towards recent news. But we do have the next one planned right now, at least a little bit of it, is we're going to be talking about the top-selling games of December 2022 and the top-selling games for the year of 2022 for Switch.
That should be good stuff, and I'm sure part of it's going to be like, really? Wow.
Did you check your most played game of the year?
Oh, I did.
You know how they had that?
I did. What were they? My 3 most played games of the year were Cuphead, Dying Light, and I can't remember the last one.
I only remember my top played game, and I remember it because I was like, of course that's it. It was the Super Mario 3D collection, which I still can't name correctly. Super Mario All-Stars 3D. And when I saw that, I was like, well, that makes sense because, as you know, I 100%ed all those games this year, and that basically makes it a collection of 4 games because in order to do everything in Galaxy, you have to 100% it twice. You have to 100% it and then go through as Luigi and 100% it again, and then you get a special picture at the end.
Yeah, I remember that. That was
I did that, and that basically made that game 4 games, so I probably played that for 80 hours at least this year. Probably more. So that made that my number 1 played game of 2022.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank everyone for listening, and we'll be back next week. We might even have a third person talking with us. They say they're going to be there right now, but people's schedules change. Who knows? But yeah, we'll see. See you then. Bye-bye.
Game over.